Hey yo, it is February 28th, the 28th day of my 28-day Radical Heart Challenge. I am in the city of Lima in Rio de Janeiro. Um, today's the last tuning, and I am taking a moment to pause and check in. There are so many downloads that are happening right now with me on this trip. The biggest is this sovereignty, this remembering of who I truly am, and the sovereignty within myself that I started to discover as I checked into this 28-day Radical Heart Challenge in the intensive care unit of me. It's an interesting piece. It's a remembering that nothing is broken, but I did forget who I am as the queen, as the artist. Came across this saying that said women, reminding me that I'm not only the queen, but I am the altar to be worshipped, not to be sacrificed. I am the altar, right, to be worshipped, not to be sacrificed. And with that, there's been so many downloads here in Brazil. I've been having these vivid dreams of rugged mountains, surfaces, not grassy mountains, but mountains that don't have trees. And I think it has to do with my ability as an empath, which I'm actually claiming now, and I've been noticing that in this 28 days. So there's been, in these areas that we are in Lima, for example, a lot of mountains were melted in order to create landfills to build these cities and towns. And I believe these dreams that I've been having these last couple of nights, vivid dreams and scenery of these terrains that are mountains, but I don't even feel like they're on this planet. It feels like another planet, but the mountains are definitely speaking to me. And at first they were kind of scary because the landscape is not the landscape of this earth. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to be afraid of that. So what I'm really talking into, what I'm checking into is my ability to read and empathic. The first day of the trip, we are in I can't remember the name, doesn't matter. Where we went to go see where the entry port, the biggest entry port into Rio de Janeiro, where enslaved people came through. And there are museums and there are old bones and there's stuff on the ground, and I could really connect with that ancient energy. And that was the very first day we came here. And then I had met with artist Chris Tigra and their installational piece as a multidisciplinary artist. There's a lot of downloading that happens, and I'm recognizing in this intensive care unit that the way I speak and talk is very much connected to the information that I'm reading. I grew up believing that something is wrong because I'm dyslexic in the way that I talk and spell, and even when I text, in my mind I think that I'm saying something a certain way, and then when I reread the text, I see that the language is broken up. And for a long time I struggled with this, and now I'm realizing that it's because my command of communication is non-verbal now, and the verbal place on this plane is very thick, very heavy. And I'm always having to try to translate it back into this written form of language. And so now I've let go of that need to correct, because in this culture, right, we will measure one's intelligence based on the grammatical way of writing. And if you don't get it right, you're smited, you're discredited, you're just like all the PhD and all that stuff. We are, we feel like we still have to live up to these titles. And so all that is going away. One of the biggest things about coming here in Brazil is that there's a remembering of an ancient history that's in my bones, and going through all these exhibits and paying homage to the history of the indigenous peoples, the enslaved Africans that are also now Afro-Brazilian culture. The last few days has been extremely heavy, and I think it's been heavy for many of us on the trip. However, for me, I'm very much connected with the transcendental, the things you can't see, and I'm recognizing that this is a place that I want to be moving from more in my life, as a practitioner, as a sacred rebel space holder. So I'm very clear that these last few days started in Maine, was in Florida, now here in Rio de Janeiro, and actually tomorrow we go to Bahia, Salvador, Bahia. I think I'm still going to do these check-ins, but not as a 28-day radical heart challenge. I notice a lot of things happening in my body here. The intensity, and some of the friction and the constriction that I had been carrying prior to this trip is gone, like gone. So that begs a different question about the quality of my life and how I'm living. This ICU intensive care unit has been radical. I'm so glad I took this challenge with myself. I'm so glad I recognize the sovereignty of me and the me having my own back. And there's no noise. There's no noise. I recognized the pieces where that noise chatter is about always the overthinking, which means it's a second guessing, which means you don't trust yourself. I was not trusting. And the last few days is letting that go, that overthinking, trusting, showing up. I'm like, wow, sovereignty within me. And I'm truly blessed.
Sabbath.
And here's the food. Obrigada.
De nada.
Okay, it's time to eat. Ciao. Ashe, amen, aho. This 28 days has been fantastic.